Good evening, it's Dr. Alan Yim. This evening I'm going to be talking about chords and harmony. I'm going to give you a chance to learn some chords, and then I'm going to look at a couple of pieces and see how the harmony affects the way the music sounds. So a chord is three or more pitches sounding together at the same time. In Western music, chords are built up by thirds, playing every other note of the scale. So in C major, I could play the first note, skip this note, and play a C major chord. Three notes makes a triad. If I add a fourth note on top, we have a seventh chord. Let's take a look at what the triads look like. You can try playing along with these by starting in the key of C. Notice that the letters skip every other letter of the alphabet. So if we start on C, we're going to skip D and go to E, skip F, go to G. If we start on D, we skip E, then F, we skip G and go to A. So we're skipping every other note on the keyboard. Let's see what this looks like. So here's the C major scale, like this. Sounds like this. I'm going to take out every other note so we can start with these notes. Now when you play a chord, we usually play the notes all together at the same time. We can also start here and play every other note. That's a D minor chord. And so on up the scale. Let me play what these sound like. C major, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished, and then of course back to C. Let's go back and take a look at the list of these chords. You notice over here I numbered them with Roman numerals. An uppercase Roman numeral shows that the chord is a major chord. So, whoa, let's change this here. That is wrong. So the 1, the 4, and the 5 are major chords. The 2, the 3, and the 6 are minor. And then the 7th is a diminished chord. So let me play these so you can hear, see if you can hear the qualities. Here are the major chords: 1, 4, and 5. So you may recognize this from, okay, often used in old rock. And then 2, all right, and 3, and 6. Those three chords are minor. 2, 5, 1 is probably one of the most often used chord progressions. So that's 2, 5, 1. D minor, G, and C major. I highlighted the two most important chords, 5 and 1. So, especially in classical music, in the classical period, that little progression of 5 to 1 signals the end of something, usually the end of a phrase. And at the end of the piece, definitely you will always find in the classical style music. Okay, the last one here, 7. Well, this one's a little bit more harsh sounding. Okay, because it has instead of having this perfect fifth, it has this diminished fifth. You don't need to know all the details, just know that this 7 chord is kind of unique among these seven chords that we're looking at. The 7th one, built on T in the scale, has a little bit of a harsher sound to it. So the harmony creates a context for the music. It creates a background, a mood. And the sequence of the chords, we call this a chord progression. So throughout a piece, these chords color the sound as it progresses. It really creates a background for the melody and the bass line. Oftentimes we'll speak of the harmony as being the vertical element of the music because it happens at one moment. So we have a chord here, and we could talk about a C major chord having this bold feeling, or a C minor chord as maybe having a little bit of a sadder feeling to it. But it's the vertical. What's the horizontal element? The horizontal element is the melody, because the melody can't just be one note. It has to be a series of notes, you know, and can only exist in time. So the melody has to go and be experienced through time. Whereas the harmony, I could just say, well, it's a C major chord. And that's kind of a momentary thing. All right, let's take a look at a piece that has a lot of chords in it. And this is the Chopin Prelude. On the right-hand side, I brought this because it's a piece that was inspired by this prelude. It says actually right over here, inspired by Prelude in C minor by Chopin. This is an old song by Barry Manilow, written in the 70s. And so maybe it's not the style of music that everyone listens to now, but I think this is a great tune. And I think it's great because he made really good use of this melody over here. Or I should say these harmony, these chords. So let me play the opening of this. Now on the right side here, it's kind of tiny, but I'm going to try to play it if I could see these chords. So C minor, F minor 7, G7 with a sharp 5. So instead of, we have this sharp 5 and then C minor, and then A flat. Oh, I should be playing the melody. And then G again. Let me play one more time with the melody. So C minor, F minor 7, G with a sharp 5, C to C minor, and then A flat, again a G7, and then the G7 with a flat 5. Okay, now let's hear what Chopin did with this. Of course, Chopin was the original. Some things that you might recognize. The tempo is very slow, just like it says here, very slowly, but over here in Italian, largo. Fortissimo, so this is supposed to be very loud, and it's broken up into 3 separate phrases. And at the end, it gets even louder. We have a crescendo marking here. Okay, here's what it sounds like. If you go online and watch some performances of this, you'll notice some people play an E flat here and some people play an E natural. Normally in music, when you see a natural here, it carries through the whole bar. But I want to point out that changes this chord, because if it's E flat, it's a C minor chord. And if it's E natural, it's that brighter C major chord. Let me play that third phrase. You decide, which one do you like? Do you like this note here to be E flat, C, which is a C minor, or do you like it as a C natural, a C major chord there? So I'm going to leave the cursor there. I'm going to start in that third phrase, and just listen. Here it is with the E flat. With the E natural. I'll tell you what I like. I like the E natural. Okay, let's go on. This section is, we might call this the A section. And then there's this section here that repeats. So this line and this line are almost the same, but you might recognize a P. So it's soft the first time, then it slows down a little bit at the end, and then it's very soft the last time, but it gets louder and crescendos to the very last chord. So this is, maybe this piece could be like a funeral march, but it's serious. There's something very solemn about this piece. And over here, Barry Manilow reinterprets it and makes it like a love song. So I think he's very creative in his use of this. So I'll start again over on this side with the Barry Manilow version. He uses only part of this chord progression. He uses these first two measures here. You notice that Chopin intends for you to go all the way from here to here, but on this side, Barry Manilow only makes use of these first chords here, and it starts in the chorus, right here. So these first two chords is where it begins. I'll try to play this, and it repeats just like over here, but he adds in a little bit of a chord progression when he gets to here to kind of link it back to start over again. So this is Chopin's chords, Chopin's chords, Chopin's chords, tiny. All this from here to here. This is Chopin's chords. And then this little measure here is the link back to start it over again. Okay, so I am going to try to play from here, from this little sign. It's teeny tiny, so luckily I don't have to read a bunch of notes there. I'm just going to read the chords and kind of play the melody the best I can. So, oh wait, you know what? I should try to play it a little bit. Let me start in the beginning so I can get into this a little bit. So, this is the first part. Oh, sorry. So I'm in the Baby I Love You part. Okay, here's the Chopin. Oh, geez. Okay, so sorry for that bad rendition. It is very tiny, and maybe I should practice before I play these things. Let's see what Chopin did and where this came from. So this is starting on the second line right here. Okay, thanks for putting up with my piano. I wish I could bring you into the other room, but I'm set up here. So, and my other piano's super out of tune anyway. Let's go on to the next piece. The next one is also a Chopin Prelude. The last one was number 20 in Opus 28. This is number 4 in Opus 28. The reason why I want to show you this one is because it has this very unique, nice chord progression that moves down mostly by altering the chords one half step at a time. So a half step again is from one note to the very next note, and he moves the notes down chromatically. But I want to play the melody first to show you how much this harmony adds to it. So here it is. I wrote, without the harmony, this melody just doesn't have the soul to it. So here's the melody. Little dotted rhythm. All of these are dotted rhythms, actually. Okay, up to that point, it's really just this dotted rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 2, 3. 1. Okay, so it's 3 beats to 1, and that's a dotted rhythm, a dotted half, and then followed by the quarter, and then it goes 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have this little bit of a line by itself. And it starts over again. Okay, over on the next page, it says stretto. And hopefully you remember what that means. It means start speeding up. So in the Romantic period, remember that the music tends to fluctuate in its tempo. There's this tempo rubato. Originally, tempo rubato just meant stealing time from here and there, but always kind of staying within the meter. In the way we play Romantic music now, pretty much everybody just kind of disregards the meter a little bit in terms of keeping the tempo steady to a fixed framework, and we just kind of speed up and slow down throughout, which well, hopefully we don't take too much away from the music by doing that. Okay, at the end it dies out. Now I want to point out something here, because this whole thing is in E minor. And in a way, it's about this journey of this note. I almost feel like it's almost like it's trying to stay aloft, but its journey is down to this E. So that's Do. It's trying to get down to that E, and it doesn't really get there till almost till the end, right? Until this last little line here. So finally, and then the last 3 notes are. Okay, so that's the journey of the melody. Now I'm going to show you what the chords sound like without the melody. So it starts here, and then it goes. So here, the 2 bottom notes move down. And from that point on, look at how this moves. So I'll point to where I am. The first chord is here. And then the top moves down, then the bottom moves down, then the top moves down, then the middle, the bottom, so the top. And then here, again, both move down, but then we start, and then that moves down a step. And this moves down, and then we start the half steps again. And then here it kind of fluctuates back and forth, and then we start over again. So let me play the chords without talking so you can hear these half steps. I imagine if I put these on my fake string sound here, it might be kind of compelling to hear it this way. but Chopin was a pianist. He didn't really, strings were not his thing, except the strings inside the piano. Every one of Chopin's pieces was written for piano, and that's why pianists love Chopin. Okay, so now I'm going to put these together, the melody and the harmony together, and play this for you. So again, notice how this is trying to get down to the bottom. It has a little bit of an outburst towards the end. Maybe it's a little frustrated, but I think the overall mood is a little bit melancholic. And it says expressivo in the beginning, which means expressively, of course. Piano softly. You can see some crescendos and decrescendos there. But listen for these long phrases. So you see this phrase mark goes, for three systems almost. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I said at the last line here, the melody's trying to get home to E. Notice the last three measures. So the last three measures is when we get to the fermata, and we reach this stopping point, and then we have a lot of E's before that. So let me play the harmonization of this, because it is kind of interesting when we get to this E. Okay, first of all, we have C major there, so it sounds a little bit like, hey, maybe there's some hope. Then we get this C7. Oh, that sounds grim. Okay. That sounds maybe like something good is going to happen. That's a C7 chord also, over B flat. But it's not treated as well. I'm not going to go into the details of the progression, but okay, so we're not there yet. And now we get to the end. And there so it's not a major chord, it's minor. So in Western music, a minor sound is almost always associated with something sad. So you can hear it throughout all this chromaticism. I invite you to go out and try your hand at this yourself. You could just turn on your phone, put it on the string setting on your keyboard, and then play a major chord. And then start moving the notes around, especially down, if you want it. and see what happens. You could also try moving up too, and you could try moving by a whole step and see what kind of chords what kind of sounds you make. I mean, you could just kind of experiment. So if you use a lot of major chords, it's going to sound a little bit more hopeful. But in this particular prelude, it's going in the opposite direction chromatically, and there's a lot of minor chords in there. So you hear the mood that this has, this relentless kind of dreariness is falling down to the final chord. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one where I show you how to use some chords to play along to a simple tune. See you then.